Hello and welcome back, family, to another episode review of Kwababa. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications because we bring you the freshest breakdowns, the juiciest theories, and the most honest reactions to everything happening in this house full of secrets. Today we are diving into the August 10, 2026 episode, and let me tell you, this one did not disappoint. We have lies stacking on top of lies, a marriage that might be hanging by a thread before it even starts, and a family patriarch who is playing every single person around him like a chessboard. Grab your tea, get comfortable, and let's get into it. The episode opens with the whole household buzzing about the possibility of a wedding between Zeliki and Bahomi. Honestly, the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Everyone wants to know, will these two finally walk down the aisle, or is this entire courtship about to collapse under the weight of the secrets swirling around Zeliki's true parentage? Because let's be real, family, a wedding built on a foundation of lies really stands strong for long, and this show has taught us that nothing in this household stays buried forever. What makes this storyline so compelling is that Zeliki himself doesn't fully understand what's happening around him. He's walking into what could be the biggest day of his life while the people closest to him are hiding the one truth that could change everything, who his real father actually is. And that, family, is where the real drama begins. One thing this episode reminded us of is just how important Zeliki's father, Mika, has become in his life. Whatever storm is coming, and trust me, there is a storm coming, Mika has remained a steady, calm presence. He's the kind of father figure who doesn't scream, doesn't panic, doesn't make a scene. He simply listens, absorbs, and quietly processes everything happening around him. And in a household this chaotic, that kind of composure is rare. But composure doesn't mean he's clueless. Mika is clearly paying attention to every conversation, every whispered exchange, every strange look between family members. He knows something is brewing, even if he hasn't pieced together the full picture yet. Viewers online have been speculating for weeks now that Mika might already suspect the truth about Zeliki's paternity, and this episode only adds fuel to that theory. Now here's where things get really messy. Apparently, before this episode even aired, there was already a leak. Kwab's wife found out about the situation involving Zeliki and, being unable to keep such explosive information to herself, went straight to Kwab and told him everything. Family, we all know what happens when secrets land in the wrong hands in this house, they spread like wildfire. Kwab, being who he is, was shocked at first. But shock quickly turned into something else entirely, opportunity. Because if there's one thing we know about Kwab, it's that he never lets a piece of information go to waste. The moment he realized that Zeliki might not actually be a Mika by blood, you could practically see the wheels turning in his head. This isn't a man who is going to sit on this secret out of loyalty or kindness. No, this is a man who is going to use it. The real question the episode leaves us with is, what exactly does Kwab plan to do with this information? Is he going to expose it publicly and humiliate the family? Is he going to use it as leverage to manipulate the wedding negotiations? Or is he playing an even longer game, waiting for the perfect moment to strike when it will cause the most damage? Speaking of the wedding, the Lobola negotiations have become their own battlefield this episode. There's growing talk that Zeliki might deliberately try to exclude Kwab from the negotiation delegation altogether. And honestly, who could blame him? If Zeliki senses even a hint that Kwab knows something damaging, keeping him far away from the negotiating table would be a smart move. But here's the twist, the person who many believe should rightfully be part of these negotiations is Mlobber. Not Kwab. Mlobber, after everything he's been through, including reportedly losing his previous position, has landed a new opportunity, a new contract, at a logistics company. It's being said that his new role came through his wife's connections, which is a nice bit of good fortune for a man who has had his fair share of setbacks recently. The moment Kwab finds out that Mlobber has moved on and secured new footing, expect fireworks. Kwab has never been the type to sit back quietly while someone else gains ground, especially within the family structure. This news is going to send him into a spiral, and viewers should brace themselves for some serious confrontation in the coming episodes. This brings us to one of the most pressing questions of the week: can Mlobber do anything to stop the marriage between Zeliki and Bahomi from moving forward? Because if Kwab truly cannot bear the thought of this wedding happening, his next move will almost certainly be to manipulate the younger, more impressionable Mlobber into doing his dirty work for him. We've seen this pattern before in this household. The older, more calculating family members use the younger ones as pawns, feeding them half-truths and playing on their insecurities until they act in ways that serve someone else's agenda entirely. Mlobber, for all his recent growth, is still described as someone who can be easily influenced, especially by those he trusts or respects. If Kwab decides to whisper the right words into his ear, we could see Mlobber unknowingly become the instrument that derails this entire wedding. It's honestly a bit heartbreaking to watch, because Mlobber deserves better than to be used as a pawn in someone else's scheme. But that's the nature of this show. Everyone is fighting for power, position, and inheritance, and the innocent often get caught in the crossfire. Let's talk about Ambokazi for a moment, because her storyline this episode was absolutely gripping. She is still sitting on a secret that could change the entire trajectory of this family. She has not told Zeliki the truth about who his real father is. And instead of confronting this head-on, she keeps insisting that the man who raised him with love should be considered his true father, regardless of blood. Now, on one hand, there's something admirable about that sentiment. Family isn't always about biology. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who nurtures you, who raises you with care. But on the other hand, family, we all know that withholding a truth this significant, especially when a wedding and a family legacy are on the line, is not going to end well. Ambokazi is displaying what so many mothers on this show do: an avoidance of confrontation, a hope that if she just doesn't say anything, the problem will somehow resolve itself. But problems like this never resolve themselves. They fester. They grow. And eventually, they explode in the most dramatic way possible, which, if this show has taught us anything, is exactly what's coming. Zeliki himself is clearly starting to feel like something is off. He's been trying to get answers from his mother, but she keeps shutting him down, refusing to open up about her past or her history. Imagine being in his position, sensing that something fundamental about your identity is being hidden from you, but every time you try to get to the truth, the person who should be most honest with you keeps deflecting. This has clearly taken a toll on him emotionally. He's confided that things feel upside down, that he's been trying to process this uncertainty on his own without any real answers. And who could blame him for wanting clarity before walking into a marriage? If your entire sense of identity and family lineage is in question, it makes sense that you'd want to resolve that before making one of the biggest commitments of your life. There are also whispers that Zeliki's fiancé's family may have their own opinions and expectations about who should be present and involved in these wedding proceedings, which only adds more pressure to an already complicated situation. And then there's the subplot involving Msolisi, who apparently has strong feelings about Bahomi's choices and doesn't hide his disapproval. The drama around this wedding is not just about paternity, it's about family politics, pride, and old grudges resurfacing at the worst possible time. Meanwhile, let's not forget that Kwab has never let go of his belief that he is entitled to return to the family business. He sees himself as the rightful heir, the one who should be overseeing everything, and he has made it clear, subtly and not so subtly, that he intends to reclaim that position eventually. It's honestly just a matter of time before the full truth about Zeliki's parentage comes out, and when it does, Kwab is going to use every ounce of that revelation to push his own agenda forward. There's growing speculation that he might try to use his position of leadership within the family to push for reinstatement at the company, framing himself as the only one capable of steering things in the right direction, especially if the current leadership structure gets thrown into chaos by scandal. Later in the episode, tensions boil over when Zeliki finally confronts Ambokazi directly, demanding to know who his real father is. This scene, family, was easily one of the most emotionally charged moments of the week. You could feel the years of silence and avoidance crashing down all at once. Ambokazi, cornered, still doesn't give him a straight answer, at least not fully. But the show drops enough hints for viewers to connect the dots. There's a real possibility that Zeliki could be biologically connected to Kwababa rather than Mika's. Think about it, if that's true, it would explain so much of the tension, resentment, and strange dynamic between Kwababa and Zeliki over the years. Sometimes the people we clash with the most are the ones we are most connected to, whether we realize it or not. Ambokazi being pressed for the truth, only to keep dancing around it, has left fans online absolutely furious and desperate for the reveal. Some are speculating that Ambokazi and Kwababa share some kind of deeper connection or history themselves, which would only complicate things further if it turns out to be true. By the end of the episode, we get confirmation of what many of us saw coming. Zeliki is done waiting for answers from the people around him. He has decided to take matters into his own hands and pursue a DNA test. And from everything we've seen and heard, it's looking more and more likely that the results are going to confirm what many fans have suspected all along, that Zeliki is not biologically related to the Mika siblings at all. This is going to be an earth-shattering moment for the family. Imagine finding out, right before your wedding, that your entire understanding of who you are has been built on a lie kept by the people who claim to love and protect you. There's a particularly poignant moment where Zeliki essentially says that if the truth hurts people, so be it. He needs to rest easy with the facts, even if those facts destroy the comfortable illusions everyone else has been living under. We also got more context this episode about Slendle's involvement in keeping this secret buried. It's revealed that she was aware of the truth about Zeliki's parentage and chose not to disclose it, even when pressed directly. There's a particularly tense exchange where a family member confronts her, insisting that Zeliki deserves to know who his real father is, only for Slendle to deflect and accuse the other person of overstepping into business that isn't theirs. This refusal to open up, even when directly challenged, paints Slendle as someone who is deeply protective of old secrets, perhaps out of guilt, perhaps out of fear of what the fallout might mean for her own position within the family. Either way, her silence has only added more fuel to an already blazing fire. Interestingly, this episode also shows a different side of Zeliki, one that's a little more calculating than we've seen before. There's a subplot involving him trying to secure certain documents from Dumasani, documents that could potentially help him get back into a previous work opportunity. When he struggles to convince Dumasani directly, he turns to his brother-in-law and to Mlobber for help instead. And this is where it gets interesting. The narrative openly acknowledges that Mlobber is known to be easily influenced, and it seems Zeliki may be aware of this and prepared to use it to his advantage. It's a small moment, but it speaks volumes about where this show might be headed. Is Zeliki more strategic than we originally gave him credit for? Or is this simply a man doing what he has to do to hold his life together while everything around him threatens to fall apart? So, family, where does all of this leave us heading into the next episode? We have a wedding hanging in the balance, threatened not just by external family politics but by a paternity secret that's about to blow the entire household apart. We have Kwababa positioning himself to capitalize on chaos, potentially manipulating Mlobber into becoming an unwitting tool against the very wedding everyone is hoping to see. We have Ambokazi and Slendle both sitting on truths they refuse to fully release, and we have Zeliki himself edging closer and closer to a DNA test that could confirm his worst fears about his own identity. If I had to guess, I don't think we're going to see a smooth, uncomplicated wedding this week. There's simply too much unresolved tension, too many secrets still buried just beneath the surface. My prediction is that the DNA test results are going to drop at the worst possible moment, right in the middle of wedding preparations, and completely derail everything. Whether the wedding gets postponed, called off entirely, or somehow pushes through despite the chaos, one thing is certain: that this family is about to be tested in ways they never expected. Family, this episode was a masterclass in slow-burning tension. Nothing exploded outright, but every single scene added another layer to the pressure cooker this household has become. From Kwab's calculating silence to Ambokazi's heartbreaking avoidance, from Mlobber's vulnerability to Zeliki's growing determination to uncover the truth no matter the cost, this episode set the stage for what could be one of the most dramatic arcs this show has ever given us. What do you think, family? Do you believe the wedding between Zeliki and Bahomi will actually happen this week, or do you think the paternity scandal is going to blow everything apart before they even reach the altar? Do you think Kwab is Zeliki's real father, and if so, how do you think that revelation will change the dynamic between them going forward? Drop your predictions and theories in the comments section below. I always love reading your takes, and honestly, some of you called plot twists on this show before they even happened, so I trust your instincts. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an episode review. We'll be back with more Kwababa content very soon, breaking down every twist, every secret, and every dramatic confrontation as this story continues to unfold. Until next time, family, stay blessed, stay entertained, and I'll see you in the next one.